This is the EGC 20k Age of Empires 4 tournament. The quarterfinals are on, the last 8 generals are battling it out, and it's getting epic out here. My name is Anuki, and we've got another mirror matchup in this best of 5. You've arrived on round 4. Allow me to give you the introductory orientation. Settling in the north with a blue coat of arms, leading the Abyssid dynasty, it's Hera! Opposing them once more, settling in the south with a red jacket of legs, also leading the Abyssid dynasty, it's Recon! The map is Hill and Dale, a nice and sweet location for commanders who just wish to spend more time making a home. A little nest in the hills for everyone to enjoy before stepping out into the big dangerous Dale where mortality is quickly realized. Recon has the upper hand, leading by 1 match point over Hera. They showed us one of the best displays of France in the EGC so far, at least I think, despite losing as France in the second match. Mirror matches their weakness? That would be a stupid weakness to have. However, that's the way World of Warcraft is now, at least. Big, strong Fire Lord, weak to fire, somehow. Alright, but this isn't Warcraft, this is Age of Empires 4, and it is new, and it is exciting and modern, and we could be in for an awesome match. So let's try and break down how our match might start based on the information at present. And this is how I break things down as a strategy analyst. You've got the map, you've got the civilizations, and you've got the player history, 1, 2, and 3, and they are all deeply interconnected. Just because Hill and Dale is a defensive map doesn't necessarily mean that one of the players in the EGC competing at the moment is going to wall up, because they might be known for being aggressive, and this would be such an epic place to build an outpost. I want it so much, but it's just not happened yet. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so another thing as well, likewise, if someone is playing Mongols who can't wall up, then they are going to have to approach this map differently anyway. So they can't be as defensive as other civilizations. So let's start with the map. Hill and Dale, as already stated, likes to be fairly slow and defensive. Get those initial staging areas set up, simple economy, simple production. The Abyssid dynasty get big berry benefits for building mills on bushes. You will have 2 berry bushes in your natural border. The Abyssid dynasty usually gets the economic wing to start with as their first landmark choice. That allows you to get access to a research which makes villagers half the price. And it works even better with a 2nd or 3rd town center, which this map really provides that situation for. So there's some strong reverberation between Abyssid Dynasty and this map that would encourage players to do these things. There's also some trade bonuses the Abyssid Dynasty gets, but Hill and Dale is a risky map. The neutral trading marketplaces are in the center where, well, not the most conflict. Conflict isn't the right word, and neither is contestation. It's just hard to protect caravans coming and going from the middle where your opponent is most likely to travel. So it brings us to our last point. What about the players, our generals fighting today? Okay, this is where it gets interesting. When it comes to economy, Hera lost in Game 1 without fielding much of a force to fight with. In Game 2, Recon lost. But it wasn't because of economy mismanagement. They lost battles, they lost the Holy Royal Night War. And then in Game 3, Hera lost and they had a ton of gold. Now this doesn't necessarily give us the reason why they lost, but when talking about economy specifically, we have an indication that Recon has taken some lessons in accounting, and I wouldn't trust Hera with my money. And also, where the hell is the food in my refrigerator? That food was meant for the horses. But I would trust Hera with my army. They won every battle expected of them, and then a few which could have gone either way. In game 2 and 3, Hera also showed their trickster side, luring guards away and then attacking the villagers. They've got micro prowess at their fingertips and excellent attrition. So this brings me to my last point, and I'll try and do this quickly. The Abyssid Dynasty, when they get into the feudal age, which we are now arriving at, they get an important free bit of tech, which is sometimes pivotal for them winning. Also, this kind of sucks for Hera. They have this huge, wide open front door with berry and deer on it, making it really tough to wall off. Whereas Recon has a relatively small gap with no obstructions. Okay, maybe they've got a wolf guarding this one and the berries are slightly conveniently positioned there, but otherwise, Recon seems to have better control over their area, or controllability. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. I was saying, oh yes, the Abyssid Dynasty can build battering rams without the need of a blacksmith and some time to study it, make a blueprint, laminate it, and hand it over to the spearmen or archers to build them on the field. This could come into play. Recon brought a ram out in game 1. It's the only battering ram featured in this best of 5 so far. Hera did utilize battering rams in one of their games against their previous opponents, but all this tells us is that either there was little opportunity to show battering rams. For example, all the games played as France tend not to have battering rams in them because people just build knights. Alternatively, maybe they just don't use battering rams as much. But as Abyssid Dynasty, the tech is free in the feudal age, so this is where we can learn more about our generals as walling occurs for Recon and a wolf battle. Get out of here. So I'll wrap things up and I'll let you decide for yourself. We have a map which is fairly defensive and rich in resources at your starting positions. We have civilizations which have strong economic benefits, and we have 2 players, one of which has demonstrated so far better handling of economy and another better handling of military tactics. As we are already seeing the demonstration where a scout almost murders a villager. I thought they were gonna crack that one. Recon's walls are going up nicely. Almost feels like Planet Zoo. Got ourselves a deer enclosure. The Red Scout is ordered to investigate the northern hill. Recon reaches the Golden Age. So when you build 10 buildings close together as the Abyssid Dynasty, you get 10% increased gather rate for all resources. The gold has been found, but we kind of know that the gold spawns up there. Chances are you're not really going to get some horses to flank when these walls are going down. Both generals have also got their second town centers out about a minute ago, quite evenly matched. Right, it's time for that reminder about the EGC, because I think I've forgotten to do that whilst we've been witnessing Hera and Recon fight it out. So here you are watching the Elite Gaming Channel's 20k tournament, but they are doing more competitive stuff. So if you'd like to discover what that stuff is, then there's no better place right now than checking out their Discord. I'm not a part of the EGC, I'm just a rogue caster like Imoen or Octavia. I'm a part of the Ironcast, and I am Ironcast! And if you like the productions here and would like to get involved in some way, maybe you'd like your game to be casted, maybe you'd like to cast alongside me, maybe you'd like to ally yourself with one of the civilizations and participate in the Grand 4v4 Civilization Wars. Or you just want to hear more about what we can do here and spread the word of Age of Empires 4. You love Age of Empires 4 so much you don't even monetize your videos. That's right, videos aren't monetized here, and all the details are in the video description or discord.me/Ironcast. Okay, I think that's everything covered. Back to the game. We're 9 minutes in, Recon's building a barracks, they've got a marketplace, they've got prosperity as they advance to the Castle Age with the Culture Wing. That will allow the research of 2 technologies in the Castle Age, the Preservation of Knowledge, which reduces all tech costs by 30%, and Medical Centers means keeps will heal units for 2 health every second. But I don't think we will see either upgrade used. Perhaps. The Abyssid Dynasty rarely seem to get to actually upgrade these special researchers. It kind of comes down to an issue of opportunity. Out of all the games we've seen so far in the EGC, how many have had keeps in? No keeps means no need for keeps to heal. But then, how many games that have had keeps in would you even want them to heal? That's quite a question that requires game-specific analysis. Hera we saw working on a couple of archery ranges. They are also going to the Castle Age with the Culture Wing, the stables for Recon, and I wonder if we will see any camels and if we'll get to see their supportive nature, mixing in camels to grant armor to nearby units. But you would need the military wings first upgrade camel support to do that. It's a big buff for just having a single camel. It's like a huge range, really. It's the vision range of the unit itself that can easily encompass a large army. As we go to the Castle Age. Oh, by the way, infantry units will also be able to build mangonels. And I feel like it's been a frickin' while since I've seen one. I've actually just realized they exist and I want them. And I'm gonna get one! Recon has delivered. There was a little bit of scout warfare in the north side, but ignoring that, there's a mangonel here, and I'm about to lose my ship over this. But what's the plan here? Is there any need for a mangonel? Get ready for a 700-page report on mangonels in combat. It will be scouted out. The spearmen will engage on the scout, get a few taps in. So firstly, they need to protect this mangonel. 5 spearmen is not enough. Obviously, there's going to be more on its way, but that's all relative to what Hera will field. And they're already getting some spring owls, which will adequately counter that mangonel. Will the mangonel fire over the wall? Doesn't need to. There's no front wall, and the side walls have nothing to hit on the other side. Recon also getting some spring owls. And Recon probably saw the 2 archery ranges and thought, yeah, I know what'll work against a lot of archers. A mangonel will work against a lot of archers. So it's the spring owls which are going to be kind of crucial at trying to take each other out. If Recon can take out Hera's spring owls, that mangonel will be quite effective. Otherwise, it could get fairly easily destroyed. Uh-oh, spring owls sets up. They shoot the knight. What a lucky mangonel. Recon also has men-at-arm at here. A mixture of units is good, but it makes it harder to be tactical in your control. It's frightening. It's a tense situation for both generals. Hera, of course, won't like it that there's enemies camped just outside, and Recon's taking deep breaths in, wondering if they can inch up closer and not run the risk of losing units as they position themselves to maybe shoot some poor berry pickers named Gavin and Stacy, or Will and Grace, or French and Saunders, or Mitchell and Webb. Oh, I love Mitchell and Webb. Why isn't there an outpost here? This looks so good for an outpost. Please, the spring owls move up again, and they do indeed snipe a spring owl. The mangonel is hiding in the stealth forest. And I haven't seen stealth forest used as much as I thought we would, but hell, great way to protect a significant weapon of warfare. Just leave it in the stealth forest and let your enemies come out and surprise them. Mangonel needs to be very careful. Back in the stealth forest it goes. Hera is adequately prepared. Archers for the spearmen, spring owls for everything else. And crossbows too, ready for knights and men-at-arms. Already I feel that the prophecy is coming true. Hera is demonstrating better combat strategy and tactics, the right units in the right place. But Recon, I feel, showed the better economy, ever so slightly though, and requisitions a force to attack with. Things are about to get heated though. One last quick look at Recon settlement for you. Recon is actually pulling all the way back. Perhaps for a last look at their settlement too. It might just well be for these guys. The average lifespan of a spearman isn't long. Hera pushing forward with crossbows, archers, and spring elves. Heavy, all-in ranged units. Welcome to modern combat. Recon takes position behind their thin layer of wood. And the most pressing matter really is Hera's 6 spring elves. They'll even put together a battering ram too. Just the tool they need to get through that wooden gate. I'm excited to see what Recon's answer for this will be. The best method is to try and get cavalry to charge in from a surprise angle and quickly burn them with torches and then ride out. But I doubt Recon can produce the numbers quick enough, even with 2 stables. And just trying to match Hera in spring elves, it's a serious, risky cost investment, and it always feels like you will be behind on spring elves. Hera is still making more. Making more spring elves though, that's a lot of wood resources being eaten up. Wood that could be used for archers or spearmen. And if Recon had a bunch of stables and went with any kind of cavalry, you wouldn't have to deal with too much infantry. That would be the most cost-effective method, but like I said, it's just not an option that's currently available to Recon right now. Even with this amount of spring elves, it's going to take some time to break this gate. And that's great for Recon. Time is what they need. Hera holding off on that battering ram for the moment. With this proportional disparity between siege equipment and infantry, you can really visualize how effective a bunch of cavalry would be against all of that. Recon has been hard at work. They do have some cavalry, men-at-arms too. They are a really solid bulk unit to get, a sturdy unit that can take a few spring elf shots. The wall has crumbled, and Recon's gonna have to act soon. We'll see what Hera does, but I still can't help feel that Hera has become a bit too fanatical with the spring elves. Archers peruse the hill, nothing up there but death. Rather bold of a few archers just to march in there. But, okay, say it takes 4 shots to kill a heavy cavalry unit, which it does. Think of how many wasted overkill shots there would be as 8 spring elves all shoot the same target. That's extremely inefficient, and they're all facing the wrong direction. Let's get them looking towards the enemy at least. A keep is being built just outside of a Recon settlement, which Hera has now discovered. And the villagers were close to completing it. What a load of bolts, strike them down rapidly. Recon even wanted a mill here. How very daring. The keep will not be completed. Will Recon abandon it? They might be able to finish it off later. And Hera doesn't seem interested in spending time destroying it, though. This little keep has distracted Hera long enough for Recon to move their force just outside of their walls. Will this freedom allow Recon to be able to use mobility to their advantage in this upcoming engagement? I feel this is very man versus machine. Recon has accrued a massive force, and Hera has to be careful that they aren't flanked. Vision is imperative to being able to position correctly. The keep is completed. Recon managed to do that right under Hera's nose and goes for the fight. With the battle starting, cavalry moving in to try and deal with Hera's spring elves. Hera has their own cavalry to try and protect them, but a lot of torch damage has been done. The red spring elves moving closer and should be able to have the numbers advantage to ramp things up. Crossbows dealing with the few spearmen on the field. Light cavalry from Hera charging in from the side, but are in too few a number to be able to punch through. Hera's crossbow division remain intact, but will find it difficult to clean this up. What we're left with is a bunch of infantry which are vulnerable to crossbows and could be kited, but all those remaining spring elves mean that Recon is the dominant force. Hera still trying to find the little kiting. And the battering ram, ever so optimistic, left to crumble. And the villagers will look to deal with the deer nibbling on those tasty berries. Now, what will Recon do with their hard-earned freedom? Build more spring elves for a siege of their own? An idea worthy of the sentiment. Alright, they do have quite the focus on wood. They'll soon need to find another source of wood, a task which should now no longer be difficult to do after breaking the siege. It's opened up plenty of nearby resources, even going to be farming on the outside. Maybe we'll see some more castles up offering protection. As for Hera, though, coming in for a raid on the side of the farm isn't their target, though. Hera had no idea this was even built. It's a new construction. I think they want to try and surprise the Spring Elves and perhaps coordinate an attack from the front too. The blue Spring Elves begin to shoot. This is decent timings. The horsemen suffering through the spears. If they were able to hit the Spring Elves hard and fast, then the leftover crossbowmen from the previous battle would be in a superior position. The attack is not exactly as successful as Hera might have been expecting, but this is by no means a failure either. Recon didn't lose all of their Spring Elves, but it's far more manageable now. We've gone from DEFCON, this is getting out of hand, to the underwear is still salvageable. Both armies being crushed into a comparable state. Hera will definitely be proud of that. More towers going up, quick defensive buildings, checking in on Hera's settlement. They are sprawling with stables. It's yet to have been touched by the hostility. So it's looking in pristine condition. I mean, is an attack from Recon looming though? Surely it is. Recon's shown us they can defend. Can Hera defend to the same extent outside of the safety of their walls? Not completely walled though. Will that be a concern as Recon marches towards them, replenishing some of the Spring Elves? And we do have another unfortunate circumstance as a keep was trying to be placed down, and the villagers end up running in to a load of horses, but they won't chase the villagers on that one. Hera looked more surprised than Recon. The villagers will try and construct the keep slightly less forward this time. Would have been nice to surround those villagers, but again, I think Hera wanted to go for a surprise attack, and as soon as they were spotted, didn't want to commit to some kind of initiative, knowing that Recon might enact appropriate countermeasures. Spring Elf warfare again. This is a battle that Recon has continuously won. Whilst the big armies scuffle, the horses of Hera tried to navigate a surprise attack again. And I like that, the horses of Hera. Now that sounds like quite the valiant, prestigious military company that's remarkably like the Suicide Squad. Okay, listen up. We're gonna charge through the keep guarded by 2 outposts. There's an entire century of cavalry. After that, we'll slip by the arsenal of Spring Elves supported by a mangonel and a wall of spears. It's all part of Operation Obsolete. The second phase of that operation looks like it will be an attack from the front. The 2nd Division of Hera's Horace kite around the spears. The crossbows granted the gift of time to shoot. Reinforcements from the west. This is looking like a murder, with a tremendous lack of countering the crossbows. They've been able to fire without stress or anxiety of incoming attacks. Now it's largely down to the spears and crossbows. The spearmen better start learning how to deflect fast-moving bolts or fleeing really fast. Fortunately, defensive emplacements are nearby, which make Hera pause to consider the next move. They lack the necessary siege tools to topple buildings. Maybe there is something else they can inflict upon a Recon, though. Or you can just go ahead and build yourself a battering ram. That works too. Very slow siege tool to bring. Means Recon's got some time to make some considerations. They went with a very heavy siege spear combo, but like I say, cavalry always has the advantage because they can often choose not to engage. And by delaying their engage on that last fight, the crossbows had a ton of free shots. We had quite a few mangonels being built. Could be an eggs in one basket situation. Hera was able to destroy a lot of spring elves. You think it's going to be hard for them to kill 3 mangonels? We'll see. Hera's kept the fighting away from their side of the map, accumulated lots of resources to advance to the next age, which is the military wing. There's a few good things that could come from this. You know, the support camel would provide 1 armor to everyone in a large radius around them. Not so helpful if the main thing hitting your ranged units is spring elves that hit for 60. Would be amazing for Recon, though, against all that ranged fire. As more raiding goes on in the farmlands of Recon. Villagers running for their life, and their life will be marginally protected. The reaction of Recon is full force. It's clear that Recon is lacking a ranged force of their own. Hera's horses of heresy can move in and move out, so long as they keep their distance. Of course, maneuvering through the land of keeps and towers is still dangerous, but the disruption and mental pressure applied certainly seems worth it. When done right, this engage doesn't seem as efficient. A bunch of villagers making a trek to the southeast. Perhaps we'll catch up with them later because Hera's attacking the front again. And the horses arrive too quickly, or the crossbows too late. One or the other. Hera certainly fixated with making the same attack patterns, and they can only inflict army damage at the moment. There's a camel! Camels have arrived. Oh, what a joyous occasion. There is nothing more jolly than a camel. Unless Recon comes riding a giant squirrel. Still though, any camel armor offered won't matter. Against mangonels, 3 shots could kill a lot of crossbows. +1 armor or no +1 armor. For everything else though, there's MasterCard. Oh, I hate that I said that. Oh, I can't go back now. Neither can Recon. Retreat is difficult when a lot of your power is siege units. They are slow, they are cumbersome. And also, these flavor of siege units are not exactly great with buildings. That's where your trebuchets and battering rams come into play when you're on a strictly castle age siege diet. Attack pattern alpha, send the horses on the flank, 90-degree turn into the siege units, advanced crossbows. Although Recon knows this one. Hera's modifying it slightly, full rear flank. Recon needs to move their spears accordingly. They do not, and some of the horses get through. Hera hits the mangonels with their own spring elves, and the crossbows advance. For a brief moment in time, reinforcements arrive for Recon. And it's all too scary for Hera, but not for the camels. They want that last mangonel. Such courageously stupid beasts. Well, we're finally seeing some building destruction. Recon's investing in a battering ram. There's some careless infantry charging into the cavalry and crossbows, and I think we're about to see another attack pattern alpha. Or maybe not. They might just wander off and attack some poor villagers instead. But let's keep our eyes here as the crossbows wind up for action. And there's a lone rider serving as decoy, pulling troops in a direction favorable to the crossbows. Hera's certainly emphasizing tactical commands. The spears get in the face of the crossbows, eating those bolts, whilst cavalry wrap themselves around the remaining siege weapons. However, there's a few guardians that will thwart them. But something's going to eventually give for Recon, if not in that battle. Then somewhere else, the crossbows ultimately tear through everything here. Hera attacks in many places, but this middle battle is devastating for Recon. Certainly feels like Recon just can't solve the crossbow crisis. But at the same time, Hera just can't hit the buildings. They get this far and hit a brick wall. Well, no, they don't. They don't hit a brick wall. That's the point. So we end up with a bunch of units just skirmishing behind enemy lines and offering a lot less to the cause. Then replenishing and repeating the whole process again. This can't keep up forever though, as resources are getting depleted much quicker. That's what happens when you've got over 100 villagers all doing stuff. And soon the bases will be touching. Hera's also taken a sacred site on the east. Recon reaching the Imperial Age, also with a military wing, which we touched upon lightly before a big battle happened. One of the upgrades you can get is 15% health increase for all infantry units, but priority will usually fall. We've got a keep off here. Who can build a keep the fastest? In fact, there's going to be 2 keeps versus 1, and a cannon is out here. I'm just never going to get time to explain these upgrades. Priority will usually fall to getting your troops upgraded directly from the barracks or stables and so on. Best to get those upgrades first, as they contribute more. With the appearance of a bombard, some progress can finally be made. The slow and steady destruction of Recon's settlement, and I gotta say, the view from here is beautiful, but I'd hate to see the view through the eyes of a spearman. Mangonels also back in action. So far, though, I don't think we've seen Mangonels provide much resistance. We've seen over 9 Mangonels now. I should have been counting, but no decent volley yet. No real hard-hitting spectacle that they should really be delivering. Hera's herd pushing through for a flank again. The crossbows have taken a sprinkling of damage during the course of all of these battles. The blue cavalry recalled. No, they're going back in to charge the siege machines. Recon pours their attention into dealing with the cavalry, but it's not the only worry. That bombard will pick those mangonels off too. They really want those mangonels to be the solution to all the crossbows, but each time, Hera sacrifices their cavalry in order to defeat them. The Recon's survivors charge. They'll get the bombard here, which is great. That's just left out in the open for claiming. The crossbows are enough of a match for what is here, and actually might be good to get rid of a few of the wounded to allow for fresh crossbows on the field, if we're being pedantic. Flame bolts have arrived. That's a 20% damage increase. An upgrade from the university. We have keep walls fighting over a lumberyard and a mine, with no villagers working around there. Now, with the late game upgrades arriving, they're absolutely devastating, but for Hera's army, the upgrade for flame arrows is crucial. Those crossbows must have paid off in magnitudes by now. Of course, some other upgrades will be handy, such as increasing the damage of gunpowder units, though I think the various upgrades Recon could get now would be more important given the situation. Now, I don't want to quickly go check around at the university so we can keep our eyes on the action. I mean, check the map. It's like finding a university in a haystack. Hopefully, the replay interface in the future will have more access, or better access to information. But anyway, improving ranged armor and reload time with the mangonels would be a great Imperial Age technology against crossbows, given and only given what Recon is currently doing. But they've made so little headway that I think a change of tactics or an evolution of their tactics would make more sense. So there's try and try again. And then there's try and die again. Now, I'm not particularly fond of the second one, but regardless, Recon keeps amassing very sizable army and throwing it into the crossbows. Spears, I mean, they're cheap, but I'm not sure they're this indispensable. The Mangonels struggling to get into range, and that's the trouble with ranged units like crossbows and archers. They can kite so well. And can I just say, this is why I like the stealthy mechanic, where ranged units increase in damage so long as they remain still. I personally would love to see that mechanic applied to all ranged units to bolster tactics and strategical play. I'd personally like to have a harder time protecting my ranged units rather than these scenarios where you have a group of ranged units acting almost as your sole exclusive entity. But in any case, it's going to be amazing to see how Age of Empires 4 evolves over the next year plus. Ooh, gotta be careful leaving your bombard out. It moves to reintegrate with the main army. It feels like we're in limbo or purgatory, constantly back to square one. If only the population cap wasn't limited to 200, because that's the real struggle here. You've got over 100 villagers with around 80 points dedicated to the army. It leaves little room for siege units. When you bring 1 or 2 bombards to destroy buildings and the rest of the units are there to try and protect it, if those 2 siege machines are taken out, then we're just in a stalemate. That's where technology can give you the upper hand. Recon's heavy cavalry move to the front of the line. They are dragged up to the side by Hera's light cavalry. They aren't just hit by the armored horses, but a keep 2. But everything they do it for the crossbows. They do it for the horde of crossbows. And as soon as they see an opening, they go for the siege weapons. The light cavalry is slightly faster than the heavy cavalry. Hera's identified the importance of having that extra mobility rather than going for the heavy cavalry. Where we're going, we don't need armor because we're quite often, more than not coming back. Recon plows into the heart of the action, and the action will cost them a lot of hearts. The heart is quite literally in it, and that's not a good thing to say on this occasion. Numbers are on Hera's side. The blue light cavalry create a barrier. One of Recon's spearmen takes one look at this and says, nope, I've got better things to do. This is looking to be the biggest victory for Hera. So many tick boxes. They've still got a lot of cavalry, a lot of crossbows, and they've held on to some siege units. And the enemy's army, they've been destroyed. They do reform anew, but it's kind of more of a militia than an army at this point. And I believe this is the moment to seize. This is the juncture where triumph can finally be clasped in a tight fist. Then again, Recon's been working with battering rams, 3 of them total a keep, and they've taken a sacred site. And is it me, or does it feel like reinforcements for Hera is slowing down? It's another battle, and Hera's eyes might be elsewhere because the spearmen finally get close to the crossbows and begin work on the muscle and the tendons and the sinew of Hera's army. What utter devastation! If Recon can rebuild their army as fast as they usually do, and Hera can't match that force, then the only thing left to do is to tear Hera brick by brick. Eradicate the cinder blocks of society and prepare a feast in celebration for the Red Villagers. Usually 40 minutes in, there's like a bang, but there's just a few spears, just a few crossbows fighting in the streets led by a wicked knight. Oh, there he goes. He'll pass on his courage and will to the spears. Looks like the crossbows just barely got this. Then the cavalry arrives for both sides. The crossbows now have their wall again, but that wall is weak to spears and knights. Recon is whittling them down, and I hear hand cannons. There they are. Very powerful unit and costly. It doesn't look like Hera is able to support the production en masse. Recon just keeps coming. It's a queue of reinforcements rallied here. Hera looks strong, but it isn't going to last. You can see there is no queue for Hera. No list of soldiers that have signed their name on the dotted line to defend their kingdom or volunteer their arms. More horses, more spears, cries Recon. The troops are truly motivated, whilst Hera struggles to hold the line. And wow, the white flag is up! And it's Hera that waves it. The Northern Abbasid dynasty in blue have been defeated. Recon lost so many battles, but wins the war. I absolutely loved that one. It was close. Okay, with another matchup wrapped up, there's no time for analysis. We've got more to cover. Do remember to come on down to Discord Town. That link again is discord.me/Ironcast. My name is Anuki. Catch you soon.